My name's DJ Graish, and in today's live stream I'm going to show you how to make a Grime Instrumental. But first, we're going to listen to one of my liquid drum and bass tunes, which is called Side Quest, while we wait for the people to join. So let me know if you're there, let me know if you can hear me, let me know if you can see me, and let me know if you can see Ableton live. And I want to shout out Joe Presser in the chat. On a previous live stream I was going on about how I started making 140 jungle. And I have to say that Joe Presser was one of my big inspirations. He's a sick producer, and if you are into 140 jungle, make sure you check out Presser. So this is basically my theme tune for the live stream, and it's a liquid drum and bass tune called Side Quest. And if you're interested to know how I made this tune, there is actually a tutorial on my channel called How to Make Orchestral Drum and Bass. So check it out. By the way, let me know if you can see me, let me know if you can hear me, let me know if the microphone is working. Shout out Future World Machines. I don't know if you guys are interested in learning how to make a Grime Instrumental, but you may have seen in the description of this video that I said I used to be in a Grime collective, which happened quite by accident when we were basically into hip-hop back in the day. And then we started listening to a load of grime on YouTube and stuff, and it all just started from there. Big up Misty. I want to big up everyone in the chat. And I want to give a special shout out to the members of this channel. So that's Siebes Fam, Jason Story, Misty, Tanner Slider, and Zach23. So if you are interested in becoming a member of this channel, all you have to do is click the join button below the stream. We have a Discord server, and we do a call every month where we share ideas. I give tips and tricks, give feedback on tunes. Future World Machine says, I'm too old for a life of grime. So this one's Side Quest, unreleased Graish tune, but you can see how I made it on the YouTube channel. So if you're interested, check out the tutorial, how to make an orchestral drum and bass track. Big up everyone in the chat. I want to big up everyone who's not in the chat, and I also want to big up the people who are watching this back at a later stage. I'm good. Uh-oh. Future World Machine says you can't hear the music. So can you just not hear the music at all? That might be a bit of a problem. So have you not heard any music this whole time? let me know. We're going to have to do some troubleshooting. And to be honest with you, I've been having some problems with OBS recently. I might have to switch to different streaming software, because this is unacceptable. But anyway, let me try and fix it. How about now? Let me know if the music appeared. Hope you can hear the tunes now. Amazing. Yeah, so it's like, you know, OBS. I didn't have that many problems with it at first, but recently it's kind of plaguing me. Amazing. So I'm going to have to just copy and paste this audio capture onto a couple of the other scenes, and then we'll get started. So I was going on like, yeah, this is my tune, Side Quest, and no one could hear it. But anyway, these are the pitfalls of live broadcast. But anyway, this is my tune, Side Quest, Orchestral drum and bass, and if you want to learn how I made it, check out the tutorial on my channel. Wait. Right, so if I paste this one here... Oh, I keep pasting the wrong one. Alright, it's this here. Copy that. Now, I really hope when I paste this here, you'll be able to hear the music on this scene as well. So let me know if you can still hear the music on this scene as well. All I need is for you to be able to hear the music when I'm full screen and still hear the music when I go back to the Ableton view, and then we're sorted. So the question is, does the tune carry on when I switch to full screen? Amazing. Alright, sweet. So might as well wait for the tune to finish, since we're getting near the end anyway. But how have you been? How's everyone been? How's everything going? For you guys in the UK, I've heard it's been pretty nice. I've heard it's been pretty much the same weather as Spain. Here it's been really hot. I mean, I went up to Montserrat, which is a big mountain near Barcelona, and I was wearing sun cream and everything, and we went up there and it was hailstones. And it was misty as hell. In fact, it was basically like we were in the clouds, and then got this cable car back down and came back out of the clouds. It was crazy. Anyway, this one was Side Quest. Big up Richie. So I wanted to do a little bit of a story time before I show you how to make a Grime instrumental. So back in the day when I first started doing music, I was into hip hop and I was doing beatboxing. I was always into like beatboxing and freestyle rapping with my mates and stuff. And we were doing that, like when I moved to Spain in the mid 2000s, we were doing that. So I was always on the hip hop vibe. And then my brother met up with this Australian guy who's called Jamo, but his MCing name is Emphasize. And this is a picture of them two the day they met. So my brother's the guy in the green hat, and Emphasize is this other guy. And you can see they went to the shop and they got this green bag of cans, and then they went back to Macba and started rapping together, and basically formed this hip hop and grime crew. So I wanted to quickly just show you a couple of tunes of this. This one's called Introducing.
Reconcile, baby.
Grime buzz on the beats.
2012, and for treats.
Frog mode superstars. Hold tight, Barcelona.
When I'm off and away in a place unknown, what's the cost of the day? Don't waste no note. How can I say when I'm tasting the glow, facing the stoke that makes me hope for more? Gotta find these shores, climb any walls, more rhymes in store. High, want a little more. I summon to the core, more size involved. Your mind coming to the storm, and we chill in the eye till it's blind, of course. With the kind of force of high laws.
So you can guess which one's emphasized from the Australian accent. And I want to say big up and thank you to Future World Machines for becoming a member of Graish Nation.
Withhold and freeze, homeward bound, not yet. I found my quest, get involved with the pound of the best. Put the sound in the check, come check this sound. Gather round while I vent, I'm as loud as it gets. Proud of the stress of a man with freedom. Pounding the fist of the clans in Eden. The land's been seeded, eaten, heathen. Make like even, leave it, even watch what you're breathing. Or we competing for the energy depleting. See the wrongs we keep repeating, right? It's like the third eyesight, like a bird in flight.
So anyway, as I was saying, these guys met up and we started this collective and we started doing grime and hip hop. And at first I was just sort of the engineer, as in the guy that was setting up the microphones to record them and stuff, but I started making some grime beats as well, and just became the engineer, the DJ, and I even did some MCing myself. So that's Reconcile, and I want to show you, this is like a video of us performing that in my old living room. Same tune, but I'll skip it to halfway.
Step in the ring, get left behind. The chicks you bring left mesmerized. Bet they think I've emphasized you, scared of a man so centralized. Self-enterprise with a spirit free. Mirror me, get recognized. Check the breeze, would you care to fly? So many seem scared of life. The fuck you scared of?
The fuck Reconcile.
There's me on the decks.
2013, going in deep with this one. Yo, S&D and emphasize that we reconcile. Face face all night, forget to smile. Crowd rinsing out, I see they're getting wild. So you know that S&D all got the extra mile. We got the clean seas mixed with a reckless style. S&D always getting better while kids talk grease on the streets. Have beef with police, think it's funny till they get to trial. Forget the now. I see when I rob it, thieving, and if they're not stealing, they're shotting. Stealing, it seems that the dream that the media is weaving. It leaves you with nothing but greed to believe in. The demons are creeping, the evil is breeding, the people conceived in the streets of the heathens. Choke on the smoke to the breathing, live without a ceiling, dreams of leaving, being deceiving, the weight of life. One easily please, one paying a price. Scheming the P for the latest device, not making it nice as a slave to advice. Life is a pie, so I'm sniping a slice. Vibe with the lights of the lightly types. Mine is a slice set aside from the hype. One mic, one life, and the right kind of eyes.
So this was about 2012 or something. I think this might have been my first ever smartphone that we recorded this on.
WRECKINSILE. Check that shit out.
So this was an instrumental from a guy called Grime Buzz. Look, it's here in the description. Instrumental Grime Buzz. And it was actually recorded in January 2013. So that's a bit of Reconcile. And let me just play you one of the tunes that was from later on. As you can see, the camera quality got a lot better. And everything got better about it, you know. But I'll just play you one more. Actually, let me play you a bit more Emphasize, because I don't know if you guys have ever heard like an Australian guy doing this style before. Have a listen to this.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, we just used to...
Go and get it. It's fresher.
We used to just make these vids in my living room.
Wake up to the game of the wolves, enslaved, making the rules. They greedy, racist fools. Education ain't in schools. Wanna break free from a leash they pull that's choking me, but I keep my cool. They clone sheep, shown how to think we can't grow greens, unfeasible. Nature's illegal, how can it be the brain of an evil mouth to feed? These corporations how me everything down to NLP. Subliminal messaging, get me, last 10 years it's been a frenzy. TV be sending us to spending lots, it must be ending soon. Bending spoons with thought and filled with life from psilocybin shrooms. Why is it not fine to open your mind? This life is mine, not yours. I am on course, on tour, stream for encores. Want more, I'm not surprised. Emphasize, got lines.
Big
like
up E.E. Wilson.
Cut through the mix, switch, front side flips, I'm loving the tricks. Lighthouse, enough with the hint, should know by now we puffin' a spliff. Good buds, rip 'em apart, Mama G tells me I'm a hippie at heart. She's right, I think. Dreads on the head and I don't eat meat like light and weed. Bare feet to connect with nature, one with the world, I reflect my maker. Year in Europe, head to Jamaica, inspiration, pen to the paper. In the zone I decide to rise like king, high tides of the might of my mind. Enticed, want my view, the eyes of emphasize for you. Spat bar since 1 AD, been
So anyway,
EPs,
that's Reconcile. Half Australian, half British, living in Spain. And then we started to get a load of other members from all different countries. So it became a truly international grime collective. And I've put a link to this YouTube channel in the description of the live stream. So if you want to check out more of the videos, you can check them out there on the video on that YouTube channel. And also, there's this reconcile.bandcamp.com where you've got all the releases that we made during that period. We've got the Macba Connection EP, Brugality, Cartooning, and you can see with these ones that I did the graphic design and I ripped off the Brugal logo, which is like a brand of rum. And then with this one, with this cartooning, you know that brand Smoking that do like Rizzler kind of smoking papers? I totally ripped off the logo of that for this one. And then Public Chilling was the last one that we did. And actually there's a new one coming out. There's a new Reconcile hip-hop mixtape coming out. When I say new, it was actually recorded 10 years ago. It's just been kind of sitting in the vault, and it's coming out this summer. So make sure you follow Reconcile to keep up with that. But I'm going to close Chrome now, and we're going to go back to... Hang on. Close this too. Wait a sec. Let me go back to Ableton. And let's start a new Ableton Live project and get going with this Grime Instrumental. Yeah, E.E. Wilson saying it's like a parody, you know, so it's totally fine. Anyway, so as with all Ableton Live projects, we start off with 2 MIDI tracks, 2 audio tracks by default, and it's on 120 BPM. So first thing I'm going to do is put it to 140, which is a pretty classic BPM for grime. And one thing that I've never done on this YouTube channel yet was actually using 808 and 909 drum machines. So if we go into our instruments, in fact, if we go into drums, you see this 808 core kit. I'm just going to put that onto one of the MIDI tracks. And I'm also going to use the 909, which is another Roland drum machine. So for the guys that don't know, the TR-808 was a Roland drum machine from the 1980s, which was really widely used in music. So you've probably heard these drums on a lot of different tracks from the 80s and onwards. And even today in sort of... trap style music, you hear it. And what I'm going to do is just create a MIDI clip. So you just drag sideways like that and press Shift, Command and M, and it creates a MIDI clip. And if we go to the bottom here, you see all these are the drums of the 808 drum kit. And if I press this little headphone symbol, you should be able to hear them. See what I mean? So I'm going to start off with some hi-hats, actually. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to start off with the 909 kit. I'm going to use a combination of these 2 drum machines to make the beat. So I'll go into the 909 kit, and again, here's all the drums. So I'll do... I want to do this kind of a pattern. You know what I mean? Then at the end of this bar, I want it to just sort of do a like that. Right, let me just make this 2 bars to start with. So I'll turn on looping and we'll just loop this first 2 bars. So I don't know if you guys have ever used the Roland 808 or 909 style drums before, but you know, you get some pretty classic sounds in here. So I'm just going to put the so-called bass drum on that kind of a pattern. And let me go into the 808 and use some of these as well. You know what? I'm going to get rid of the hi-hats from the 909 because I like these ones better. Get rid of them. Bear with me a sec. I reckon we're going to have to go into 1/32 note. No. The rim shot. This snare, I can use it as a sort of additional snare. I want this to be on, yeah, back to a 16th. Sorry for the wait. Just going to keep this going with this sort of pattern of the hi-hats. Wait. What about the hand clap? Nah. Anyway, thanks for bearing with me there, but I just wanted to show you something amazing. So I want to big up a massive YouTuber in the drum and bass and jungle space called Stranger. And if you've never heard of Stranger before, he is he's a big YouTuber with over 100,000 subscribers. And recently he made a video about how to make a grime stab. Now it's this classic sound, and you're going to instantly recognize it when I show you. And he tells you how to make it in Serum, but he also gives you the original sound that he's basing it off, which he gives it you as a download. So let me show you what I mean. So if we just go down here to Stranger Grime Stab, it's this one. Let me know in the chat if you recognize this sound. So I'm just going to create a MIDI clip there, and I've put the grime stab into the simpler. And what we're going to do is, actually, for the people who watch my channel, you know what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to get the tuner and make sure I know what key this is in. So when I press C, it's a B. So I'm going to tune that up a little bit so a C is a C. Alright, so sounds pretty good, but it's very dry, so I think the next thing to do is get the hybrid reverb out. Instantly sounding a lot nicer. Maybe not with 3.5 seconds of decay time on it. Let's go for a plate reverb, and I'll just choose any random one. So how about plate B2? Yeah, so Future World Machines is saying back in the day, grime producers were using FL Studio, which at the time was called Fruity Loops. And when you opened it up, it was automatically on 140 BPM, which is why a lot of guys just left it like that. So this is a classic grime sound. And I want to show you another little tip, which I learned along the way. And that is, you can make your bass sounds out of instruments that were never supposed to be a bass in the first place. For example, if we go into Orchestral, one thing I've used before is a flute. So let me just grab a flute. And it sounds weird, but bear with me a second. Let me just type in flute. So for example, flute hard, right? Obviously, it's going to sound like a synthesized flute, but if you pitch it down to more of the bass range, if you go play it down here, you can make a nice bass sound with it. How about Keep pressing the... I keep pressing the wrong buttons. Dum dum dum. Then you can try different octaves. And what you can do for the beginners out there who didn't know this, if you've got a MIDI clip and you've put your notes in, but you decided that maybe you don't like that sound, all you do is this. See where you've got the operator synth and it's saying flute hard. You can just drag a different flute on there. And a different one. Or pan flute. See what I mean? So you get a flute sound. And actually I quite like all of these, and what we could do is just alternate and just do like 16 bars of one and then switch it. Maybe not that one. You want to make it kind of subtle. All right. Let's try pan flute again. No, it was better like this. I think maybe air flute Magnus, but I'll just like EQ out some of the top end. So I'm just gonna make it so that it's like sort of restricted in the top area like this. And maybe I'll restrict the bottom end too, how about that? Why? Because we're going to have sub bass on a different layer. So let me go back to the instruments and I'm going to get a simpler and put that in there. And then I'm going to get my 808. And for the ones who've seen my channel before, I like to put my 808 to the perfect key, which is so that when you press a C on your keyboard, it is actually a C. So what I'll do is, actually, no, I was gonna say I'll drag the MIDI clip on, but no, I'm gonna stop being lazy and actually just program it in. Well, here's a tip for you. First, I'm just going to turn up the attack to get rid of a bit of that click from the beginning of the 808. Right, if you're programming in some sub bass and you can't really hear what notes you're playing because it's all too low, what you can do is just highlight all your notes and press shift and upwards a couple of times, maybe even 3 times. So it's playing like this. And it sounds ridiculous, but that'll allow you to actually put it so that it's in the right key and the right pitch with everything else. Shout out the GOS. Right, so you can hear the 808, the plinky, high-pitched 808 is sounding pretty much in tune with the air flute now, right? Now all you do is press shift and down 3 times. And now you know it's in the perfect tune, but it's weighty. And one thing that I always like to do is get the spectrum analyzer. Where is it now? Just called Spectrum. Put that on your master and just solo the 808 and let's have a look where it is. So that's playing in the range kind of between 44 and 67, which is the absolute perfect range for sub bass, so that's a win. So let's hear what we got so far. Future World Machines said that the high-pitched 808 sounded good. I was in 2 minds about this open hat. But it needs... The thing is about open hats, you need a closed one after it to close it back down again. So imagine a real drummer, yeah, when they take their foot off the hi-hat and it goes psh and does the open hat, and then they basically slam their foot back down and close it, and that puts a stop to it. And when you're using drum machines, they call it a choke group. So if the closed hi-hat and the open hi-hat are in the same choke group, it means that when you play the closed hat, it's going to cut off that open hat, and it sounds like this. Notice how when it plays the closed hat, this one here, then the open hat will shut up. You know, another thing that they always use in grime, so I'm just kind of making a bit of a cliche one here, but just to show you what sounds are usually there. One of them's like a trombone sound. So let's just go into Instrument Rack and Orchestral. Just going to create a MIDI clip and go into it. Evil trombone. Yeah, so E.E. Wilson, it's called a choke group, and at a later stage I'll show you how you can set it up, but obviously using these 808 core kit and 909 core kit, they've set it up already. So that it's basically no 2 hi-hats can be playing at the same time, and that means that when you play the open hat after you play the open hat, then you play a closed hat after it, and it chokes it and turns it off. Pretty clever. I first learned about that when I was using the machine, Native Instruments machine. And if you guys have never used the machine or any similar thing with like the 16 pads and then play the drums on them, I recommend it because it's really good fun. that. It was better like that. Just going to turn the open hat down a bit because it's a bit much. So if you've got one of these drum kits in your mixer, you can just click this little button here to open it up and you get all of the different sounds in their own mixer, which is pretty handy. And you can see that the open hat is hitting loud. And speaking of loud, I guess I'm kind of booming above the music right now because I need to, what I'll do is, I'm just going to put a limiter on the master and maybe give it a couple of dB, and you can let me know in the chat if you think that the music volume would be better like this. Wait. Is it better now that I've turned it up a bit? Like in comparison with my voice? Or was it better before? I think the 808's booming, isn't it? I apologise for the crew who got like a subwoofer or something. You've probably been hearing the sub bass absolutely booming. Yeah. So I reckon it's time to, maybe I'll just make one more element and then we can do a bit of an arrangement. I'm going to need a riser of some sort, so I'll just put in riser and have a look for one. And with this riser, I'm just going to make it happen a bit quicker. All right, one more kind of melody thing. So how about polysynth brass? Bit loud. E.E. Wilson saying, take off, sonic boom riser. Alright, so I just want to... Need to mute a couple of these things while I'm just making it. Hey. Alright, the trombone's way too loud. Actually, I'm going to turn my headphones down a bit. Alright, so does anyone have any questions in the chat from what I've done so far? Let's just do a little recap. So, I did some drums in 2 different drum machines. Don't ask me why. I mean, I guess it's just because I like the kick and the snare of the 909. And I like the hi-hats better in the 808. So I just made a combination of the 2. And I want to big up Stranger, who's another YouTuber with quite a large following. And he made a tutorial recently of how to make this sound. And he shows you how to make it in what's it called? Serum. So if you want to know exactly how to make that sound and then use it in your own tunes, check out Stranger's tutorial on how to make it in Serum. But he also kindly gives you the original sound that he's emulating, which is like literally called Grime Stab OG sample. So in the same video, in the description of the video, you can get this sample if you want to use the original one. So there it is. Then I was showing you how to use a flute sound as a bass line by pitching it down. And I ended up using this air flute and pitched it down, and it sounds like this. Then I added another bass, which is the sub that sits underneath it, and it's just this 808 going like this. You'll need good headphones or speakers to even be able to hear it, but together they sound like this. And then I was saying to you that a lot of grime tunes just use this like really evil trombone sound, and it sounds like this. And it's weird because even though it's called bass trombone, it naturally doesn't really have that much bass in it. Let's have a look on the spectrum. Okay, so it does have some information there, which I should probably roll off because we already have our own bass lines. Alright, I added a riser, which you've not really heard yet, but that's going to be part of the arrangement. It goes like this. That also has a lot of low end in, which I might need to EQ off, depending on the vibe. And then we've got, finally, I just put together this cheesy melody that goes like this. And there's a lot of different controls that you can mess about with here. So E.E. Wilson saying, I took a few pictures of one of the OG soundboards for Apple II. Later it was disappeared off my phone, deleted by copyright law. Soundboards make the sounds, FYI. So, what do you mean? It disappeared off your phone, as in, like, you think that Apple just, like, went into your photo library and got rid of it? Anyway, you guys who watch my channel, you'll know that I like to do groups. So let's just group these up. So I'll just click the first 808 kit, hold down shift, click the other drum kit, and then I'm going to press Command and G, group them together, call it drums, you know? And then I am going to actually simplify these names, and it's just going to be called 808 and 909. So to rename something, you press Command and R, and then you type it in, and then you can press the tab button to go down. So air flute. 808. I've already got an 808. I'll just call it 808 sub. This one, trombone. Riser. And I know some of these already say that, but you know. What was this one? I'm going to call that melody. And actually the air flute was like the higher bass, so I'm going to call that high bass. So I was thinking, so the way how I like to do an arrangement is cut everything. So I'm going to press Command and X to cut it, and I'm going to paste it at bar 9. Now that only gives us 8 bars of intro, but to be honest with you, I think grime tunes usually don't have a big long intro. They just get straight in. So we're going to start it off with Grime Stab. Let me turn these back on. Maybe the trombone should be there from the start. I'm wondering whether it should have a hi-hat going during this intro part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the 808 drum kit over here, but I'm going to change the colour of the clip to anything. But it's just to signify that this is one that's different from the one that's playing on the drop. I'm going to get rid of this little snare. And then this is going to be a very basic hi-hat pattern. It's going to do that. E.E. Wilson, no, Future World Machine says, when you cut in Ableton, does it automatically copy what you've just cut? Well, it's like, yeah, it's there in the clipboard, isn't it? And then you can press paste. I think we're going to need some little bits of something to make this a bit more interesting in the intro. Very crude at the moment, but bear with me. So the riser needs to go down, and I think I'm probably going to get rid of a load of the low end out of it. Wait. I think the drums need to be louder somehow, so perhaps we'll do some work on the drums right now. Let me just loop this bit. And I usually show you this tape saturator that I got from Air Windows called To Tape 8, and it's great for making drums sound a bit dirtier and a bit more kind of like they've been recorded to an analog tape. It's got a very basic interface, and all you do is you just crank up the input and then crank down the output accordingly. And I usually get rid of this flutter and this head bump. Maybe I took it too far with the tape saturation. Yeah, so Air Windows is a company that's run by this guy called Chris, who is, his philosophy is basically just making amazing sounding plugins, but he doesn't really bother with much of the visual UI of it. So it just looks like that in Ableton. It's just got these sliders and it's nothing fancy. But it does sound like it's really been recorded to a tape. And the amazing thing is that this guy, Chris, essentially works on a donations basis. You don't have to pay for the plugins, but he does have a Patreon. So what I would recommend you do is try out the plugins, get a load of Air Windows plugins, especially this to tape 8. And if you do end up using them and you do end up, becoming famous and selling your tunes for millions of quid, then you can give Chris some money on his Patreon. Let's have a listen to this intro. Shout out Marcel. So I think whenever the trombone comes in, that's where the high bass should go away. So maybe like this. Thanks for joining, E.E. Wilson. I'll see you next week, mate. So when it comes to doing your arrangement, it's about a bit of trial and error and just like experimentation. So you can try how it sounds if this element goes with that element. For example, how does grime stab and the melody sound together? Sounds like this. I feel like the melody is too quiet and the grime stab's too loud. One thing you have to remember when it's kind of maybe it goes without saying, but when it comes to making a grime instrumental, you also have to think that there's going to be an MC rapping over the top of this, so you do have to kind of leave a hole in the frequency spectrum for the human voice. So if it sounds a bit sparse, just remember that. I'm just going to put a bit of reverb on the snare. So check this out. With the hybrid reverb, you've got these two tabs. You've got the reverb and you've got the EQ. And one thing you can do is just roll off all of that so you make sure that you don't have any of the low end coming through to your reverb. And I'm also going to crank down the dry wet, so this is what the snare's sounding like now. And without. And also the decay time, maybe 3.5 seconds is way too much, so turn that down a bit. So I've just done the same with the hi-hat. I've put a hybrid reverb on. This time I'm EQing it out even higher, because you can see where the hi-hat is. It's just occupying this top end here. So I've taken out all of the EQ of the low end, put the decay time to lower, like 2 seconds, dry wet to 27%, and I also put this one on a plate reverb. In fact, when it comes to the snare that I just did on the 909 snare, where was it, this one? I'm going to put that on a plate as well. So it sounds like this. And the dry wet of the snare needs to be lower as well. And with the hi-hat one, it's this one here, I'll turn down the dry wet a bit more, and I'm also going to copy this over to the open hat, which is that one there. So to do that, all you do is just drag it and hold down the Alt button and let go, and it's that. So the two drum kits together, the 808 and the 909, they're sounding like this. Right. Anyone got any questions for me? Let's keep organising. So I started to make my groups and I got sidetracked. So you got the 808 sub and the high bass, they form the bass together. So I'm just going to press Command and G to group it, Command and R to rename, and I'm just going to type bass in capital letters. Now all the rest of these, I basically usually put them into an instruments group. So click the top one, hold shift, click the bottom one, so they're all highlighted. Command and G to group it, Command and R to rename it, and I'm going to type Instrum. And I still feel like maybe the hi-hat, I took it too far with the reverb. Marcel is asking about sidechaining. I think it's like you say, it's on a project by project basis. But one thing you can do is, one thing that's a good idea to do is find your kick, solo the kick and solo the sub bass, and see how they're working together. And right now, to be honest with you, Marcel, I'm wearing my open back headphones, which I use for the stream. Yeah, it does need sidechaining. Or it definitely needs something happening. So I was going to say, these headphones, yeah, they're amazing for streaming because they're open back, and it means that I can really hear my own voice while I'm talking. But the downside is that they don't really have great bass response. So when it comes to doing like mixing the low end, I usually do that with my actual speakers, or sometimes with a different pair of headphones that actually have bass. This is the way you start to, like, once you've been producing for a while, you start to sort of make these systems where you've got one pair of headphones that's good for general, you know, open back headphones are great for the stereo field, for knowing what's left and right and hearing it very openly like that, you know. But they do have shortcomings when it comes to the sub bass, so you just got to find workarounds. For the people like me who don't have all this like treatment on the walls and have a perfect mixing environment, you just have to do the best with what you've got, you know. So anyway, sidechaining for the people who've never sidechained before or don't know what it is, it's a way to make a different sound control the compressor. And what it's really useful for is you can put it on your bass, and then you can make your kick duck down the bass whenever it's time for the kick. So you might have noticed here how when I go into sidechaining on this compressor, there isn't a kick track, and the reason is because the kick track is still part of this 909 kit. And I'll show you how you can get around that. All you do is go into your mixer here, open up the 909 kit and grab this bass drum, and I'm just going to drag it all the way over here and drop it there, and it's going to allow it to make its own channel now. This is the kick, so I'm just going to type kick and put that back into the drums group. And if you want to, at this point, you can separate your snare as well and separate this and separate that. But for the purposes of demonstrating the side chaining, what I'm going to do is, so I've put a compressor on the sub bass here, right? And what you do is you click this little arrow and it opens up this extra panel where you've got the side chain button and you've got this menu of different things that you can use as the input for the side chain. So I'm going now that you can see that there's the channel there for the kick, right? Now watch what happens on this little graphic. Now if I turn off side chaining, you'll see the bass on the graphic, which is this. You see there's like 3 bumps because it's going dum dum dum, boom boom boom, you know. And then if I turn on side chaining, you'll just see the kick there. So that's indicating that it's actually the kick that the compressor is going to be reacting to and not the actual bass itself. Then all you do is just bring down the threshold to an appropriate level and let me solo the sub bass and the kick together. And another thing you can do is, I feel like the kick has got quite a long tail, so this kick was made with this drum synth, so you can just turn down the decay. Hear that? How much cleaner is that when I turn down the decay? That's just cleaned up the whole thing. So right now the sidechain compressor is doing like 3.98, so just under 4 dB of gain reduction. So you can let me know in the chat what level of gain reduction do you like to do when your kick is ducking your sub bass. I'd love to know what everyone's settings are. And let's have a listen from the beginning. Future World Machines is talking about a ghost kick. Yeah, I mean, I guess what you mean is like another kick that's just there to trigger the sidechain. That's another good technique that people like to do. Don't forget to press save whenever you're working on a tune, whenever you do a new bit, whenever you finish a section, press Command and S. If you're enjoying the stream so far and you've learned anything, I'd really appreciate it if you could click the like button, subscribe to this channel, and there is also the option to become a member of the channel, which is where you'll get some perks, like you'll get early access to the videos. We also have a Discord server that you can join called Graish Nation. And we also have these monthly video calls for the top tier members, where every month we get together and we have this. It's supposed to be a Zoom call, but we also do them on Discord. And you can get involved. I'll give you feedback on your tracks. I'll give you some tips and tricks. And we all sort of chime in and bring a tune to the session. And we can all compare notes. So if that's something that you're interested in, just click the join button below this video. And make sure you click the like button so more people can learn how to make a grime instrumental. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to duplicate this high bass channel. And do you remember when I was first making it, I was saying that we can just use various different sounds. So this one was Air Flute Magnus. But we can find various different things. So if we go to Instruments, do you remember I chose a flute? I typed in flute and chose a flute because I was sort of demonstrating that you can, just because a sound says it's a flute, you know, and it's supposed to be played at the flute octave, what you can do is play it further down the keyboard and it might make a sick bass sound. For example, noise of art flute sounds like this. And if I layer it with the 808, we've also got flute basic. Sounds alright. Flute double. That one sounds good. But we have to compare it to the other one. So wait a sec. Hang on. I was playing the original one, that's why. Alright, so the original one is still on Air Flute Magnus, and this is the new one. Alright. Let's try flute hard. Flute mellow. And we're not just limited to flutes. I mean, any instrument that's supposed to be higher up, like a clarinet, you know? Alright, so I don't seem to have any clarinets. But let's just go into like the orchestral sounds and just choose something that was like never supposed to be a bass line. Ocarina, let's hear it. I'm sure you get the idea that any of the, like an ocarina is supposed to be also like a kind of flute and was never supposed to be a bass sound, but listen to that now. Sounds pretty dirty. So let's go into the orchestral. So instrument rack, orchestral. Obviously cello already sounds pretty sick as a bass line, but let's branch it out a bit. And some of these, that brass quartet could sound really evil if you put it down a bit. So string quartet as a bass line. Worth a try, isn't it? So what's happening now is that some of these notes are just too low to even play that instrument, unfortunately. But a French horn. Alright, so they're all too low for it. Cello. So what you could do is put it up one octave. That could be alright, just layered with the other one, you know. Or it doesn't have to follow the exact same line, it could be something different, so it goes. How about like this? And then it just does the same. Doom, 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 doom. How about like this? Right, so that's going back to the original, but let's just copy this 4 times. How about like this? Know what I mean? With the drums. So that's a whole different section, so, you know, when the tune starts to get boring, you just introduce the cello. Alright, so it gets a bit busy there, so I'll just get rid of the high bass. And maybe the high bass could come in on the last 16 there instead. Then again, high bass and trombone together. That's also busy, but how about this section? What do you think of the cello? What we could do is a bit of panning. You can see that the trombone is already naturally a bit to the right, so maybe I'll push it over a little bit more. And then the cello could be left. Do you guys ever use auto pan? Auto pan is a really cool effect within Ableton Live, which just gradually pans things from left to right. and it looks like this, and all you have to do is choose your amount and then choose your rate, and the rate can be in hertz or it can be as a note value, like it can be one, I think, is it one whole bar, or is it, yeah, wait, this is on melody, right? So the best thing to do is to put it quite high but quite subtle, like this. Just gradually panning over to the right, and then it gradually pans back over to the left. It's a very subtle effect. So I'm feeling like the intro is very sparse, and we do have a lot of different things to choose from that could join it. So, and by the way, that cello line, I'm not sure if that should be in the bass group. I think that should be in the instruments group. It sounds so grimy. Alright, here's the intro. Sounds a lot less sparse, you know? And then we go like... Any questions, comments, concerns, leave them in the chat. And let me know where you tuned in from. I'm originally from the UK, but I live in Barcelona, Spain. Big up the mad scientist. Il Fantastico Banana. All the way from Finland. From Switzerland, sorry. So for the crew that have just joined us, let me break it down for you. We've got drums coming from two different drum machines, the 808 and the 909 kit. And I have separated the kick so that we can use it for sidechain compression, but the drums are sounding like this. We got the glue compressor, we got the drum bus, we got the tape saturation. And maybe I should put that tape saturation on other things. And the second thing that I made, I was telling you about Stranger and how he essentially, he's got a tutorial on his channel. So Stranger is a big YouTuber within the sort of drum and bass and jungle community. And he's doing really well. He's got like 120,000 subscribers right now. And he made a tutorial about how to make this sound, which is called a grime stab. And it's used in various old school grime instrumentals. And he also gives away the sample. So if you go and check out his tutorial, in the description below the video, he's got a download link to the Serum preset and the original OG sample. So I've downloaded that, I've put it into the simpler, and I've played it, and it sounds like this. Alright, and then I was telling you how you can make a sort of mid bass out of a flute pitched down, and it sounds like this. So that's basically, it's supposed to be a flute. Obviously, it's the wavetable synth. It's like a synthesized flute, but if you play it in a lower pitch, it sounds like a grime bass line. And I've layered that with the 808 sub bass, so it sounds like this. And you'll need good speakers or headphones to be able to hear that layer, but it's down there. And to prove it, look at the spectrum analyzer. That's that 808 down there, okay? Hitting between basically 44 hertz and up to about 67. That's that sub bass with the 808 sample. And all together. Right, so I was saying trombone is a very evil sound which is used in grime instrumentals, and it sounds like this. Alright, that's that evil trombone. And then I also put together a melody out of another synth flute, which is called polysynth brass, and it sounds like this. Sorry, it's not a flute, it's polysynth brass. Sounds nothing like brass, but it does sound like a good melody for a grime instrumental. So if you've learned anything from this tutorial, if you've learned anything from this and you want to support the channel, there's various ways to do it. The free ways are to click the like button and click the subscribe button, and I've got loads of tutorials on here, so if you want to keep learning how to use Ableton Live, subscribe to the channel, check out the tutorials, and there is also the option to become a member of Graish Nation. There's 3 different levels of support, and they're all so appreciated. Level 1 is just a token of your appreciation. But with level 2 and 3, there are various perks, including we have a monthly video call where we all get together and help each other learn how to produce using Ableton Live. So if that sounds good, click the join button below this stream. Big up Il Fantastico Banana. Yeah, so that's a technique that I just discovered one day when I was trying things, you know. I was like, well, I wonder what this sounds like as a bass line, pitch it down, and it sounded sick, and that was about 13 years ago. So I've kept that one. Not that I was even trying to keep it a secret, it's just that I had no one to tell. And now I've got a live stream, so I'm telling you guys. So if any of you want to use a pitch down flute sound as a bass line, you know, let me know. Once you've put together a tune with it, I'd love to hear it, you know. So if you guys ever use any of my tips or anything that you've learned from me in your own tunes, please do send me a link to your track and say, I learned this from that technique you said, and I'd love to hear it, you know? So I want to quickly show you the acid wind technique. So I can't remember who it was that told me this, but somebody along my production journey told me that this is called acid wind. And what you do is you get some white noise. So any old random white noise sample, for example, this harsh white noise. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get the simpler. So let me just grab the simpler. Simpler isn't even really necessary, but I'm going to put it in a simpler. And let me go back to the white noise, harsh white noise. I'm going to put that in there. Now, I'm not going to play it now. You know what white noise sounds like. Very harsh, as the name suggests. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start piling a lot of different audio effects on here, including the hybrid reverb. Put that on there. Decay time can stay on 3.5 seconds. You know, I'm going to put a load of delay on here. Massive delay. You know, it can stay on 50% white, dry wet. What else? Let's put some chorus on here. Let's put some EQ8 and make sure there's no top or bottom, and we're going to sort of band pass it in the middle. I'm also going to turn this down just in case, because as you can see, right now it's just an absolute block of audio. And let me turn on the computer MIDI keyboard and let's have a listen now. Right. There's one more thing that I need to put on here, and that's the auto filter. And I'm going to put it second to last just before the reverb, and I'm going to put it on to this sort of bandpass setting here. Now, I'm going to create a MIDI clip. How many bars long does it need to be? I'll just put it 1 bar long, so I'll just highlight a bar and press Shift, Command and M. And I'm going to put in a MIDI note here that's like 1 bar long. Right. Now here's the crucial part. We need to do some automation. So I'm going to go into automation mode by pressing A, and you can see that I've already clicked the frequency, so that red line now corresponds with the frequency. So I'm just going to make the red line move upwards like that, and it goes like this. So listen to this now. This is acid wind. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to make that stop half a bar before the drop. So it goes like this. Or maybe it should just be where it was. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to turn down the feedback of the delay so it doesn't keep just going on. And this acid wind is supposed to be a very subtle effect, so you need to turn it down quite a bit. And what I'm going to do is just highlight this entire 16 bar section and then press Command and D, Command and D, Command and D. So basically that white noise sweep thing happens in the last bar of every 16. So it goes like this. And another thing I'm going to do is, you see that auto filter that I just used? I'm going to copy that onto the drums track. Now you might think I'm mental for doing this, I'm just going to copy that on there. But the crucial part is this on and off button of the auto filter. I'm going to turn it off, so it's by default it's off, right? Go into automation mode, and then I'm only going to turn the auto filter on for the last bar of each 16, like that. Using the pencil tool, draw it in for the last bar of each 16 like that, and then making sure that the frequency automation copied over, that line going up each time. So let's have a listen. Sounds alright, but maybe it should go downwards instead. So this line should be going down. Hang on. Maybe that's a bit extreme. A bit of a like a 1 bar fill in between each section, you know. That's when the MC says his punchline. Alright, let's try a hybrid reverb on this high bass. One sec. So it's this one here. Now obviously I don't want it to really be affecting the super low end. Just want to give it a bit more room, space in the mix. Know what I mean? And then there's a few other things that I might just copy this onto. Future World Machines. Very subtly adding white noise to certain sections of your track can sometimes inject much needed energy. Totally agree. You can make it go upwards, like sweeping upwards, sweeping down, or sometimes you can just kind of keep it like not really going up or down, or just kind of wobbling a little bit, you know what I mean? But anyway, what I've got is just these little risers of white noise going up like this right now. Why does it do that at the end? That's mad, isn't it? So what it should do is stay up. Stay up for a bit like that. Okay. Just going to make sure that it doesn't do that thing where it dropped down, because that sounded weird. So I'm just copying the automation to each one. It's weird that, innit? White noise. As the name suggests, it's very noisy. Not exactly that pleasant, but if you put a load of reverb, delay, chorus, and auto filter on it, it suddenly becomes quite a nice sounding sound. I've just put the auto filter on a different type, which is a high pass instead. I'm just sort of messing with it, try and make something interesting. Should it go up or should it go down? I'll turn down the resonance so it's not doing that thing. You know, that's quite a subtle effect, but it does sound good. And that's the main thing, isn't it? As long as it sounds good. It's gradually filtering out. And as I was saying before, you have to bear in mind, when you're making grime instrumentals, at the end of the day, this is supposed to serve the MC. Like, there's supposed to be someone MCing over this, and you got to leave frequencies for them to spit their bars, but also little things like this at the end is going to sort of emphasize their punchlines and stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's always a good idea when you're sort of adding some kind of processing to one of your sounds is to do a before and after with the on-off button. So, for example, I've just added this saturation to the snare. Before it was hitting up to minus 2.8 on this thing, and then minus 3, so it's changing. But the point is, it's hitting up to there and it's sounding like this. Now let's turn on the saturator. Essentially, it sounds almost exactly the same, but now it's hitting up to minus 7.9, so I just gained a load of headroom on it, and I could afford to turn it up a bit if I wanted to. Crank it just a tiny bit. Alright, let's have a listen. Listen to the kick and the snare and the relationship between the two. And you can let me know in the chat if you think the kick and snare are balanced. I suppose that all depends on how much bass your sound system has, right? Because if you've got a subwoofer or you've got some really bassy speakers, you're going to think that the kick's louder. If you've got some weak-ass speakers, then you're probably not going to hear the kick that much, and you're going to think the snare's louder. So this is the kind of things you need to think of when you're doing your mix down, you know? Is the kick loud just because I've got really bassy headphones or speakers? So if you're enjoying the stream and you've learned anything from it, please do make sure you click the like button so that this video, this live stream, will be spread to more people on YouTube and we can help more people learn how to produce. And if you've enjoyed this and you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. There's loads of tutorials on my channel. I mainly produce in Ableton Live, and if you're interested in learning how to use Ableton, subscribe to this channel. There's also the option to join the Graish Nation membership, which has all sorts of perks, including a monthly video call with me and the members. So I've just put a big up Future World Machines, thank you for that. Future World Machines says he's listening on his tablet speakers and the kick and snare sound balanced there. So I agree. I mean, like I was saying before, the Sennheiser HD600s are great headphones, but they do have a notoriously weak low end. But according to these, what I can hear on these headphones, it sounds balanced enough to me. And I did just quickly put an EQ8 rolling off at 200 Hz. Maybe that's a bit aggressive, but I'm trying to get rid of some of the low end of the snare. If you want it to, you know, you need to look where your fundamental frequency is and then roll off below that. But if it's 200, maybe you're better off rolling off at like 156. Anyway, that's how you make a Grime Instrumental. And we have just enough time at the end for anyone to ask any questions, comments, concerns in the chat. But this is basically how you make a Grime Instrumental. You know, you can use other kinds of samples, like you can use the same kind of drums that you use for drum and bass and stuff if you want. But I do quite like the opportunity to use these old school drum machines and use some classic 808 and 909 sounds. So let me know. Is there anything you want to know? Anything you want to say before I go? I'm going to end at 10, so we've got 2 minutes left. So before we go, last 2 minutes, Future World Machines is saying about putting saturation on the sub bass. So let's do it. So for the people who don't know, essentially an 808 is a sine wave, which is, you can only really hear it on very nice speakers that have sub bass, right? So to get around that, what you can do is you can put a saturator on it and it's going to sound more like this. So for the whack speaker crew who've not been hearing the 808 the whole time, this is what it sounds like. And you can choose how much you want to crank it up. You can also use this dry wet knob to sort of tone it down a bit. And there's also these different styles. So you've got analog clip, soft sine, medium curve, hard curve, and obviously the harder you go, the more aggressive it's going to sound like this. Usually you'd probably want to go with a more of a warm sound like an analog clip, just to make it show up for the wax speaker crew, you know. One thing I do need to mention though, if you've already put yourself a mid bass, like I've called it the high bass, look what frequency spectrum that is occupying. It's like from 100 to 1K, it's like the lower mids, right? Now if you put saturation on your sub bass, obviously the fundamental is down there, which was the sub bass that we originally had, and now it's adding all of these harmonics in the lower mids, which is potentially going to clash with the mid bass that you've already created. So something to think about, you know. You can make them fit in with each other for sure. That's the way you always want to be thinking though when it comes to doing like mix downs and arrangements. You need to think, is this going to clash with this, you know? What frequency spectrum is this element going to take up? And is there anything else that's already there? And how is the relationship between these two things going to be? You know? So, I think that sounded fine though. You know, the mid bass with this 808 with saturation on it, they weren't clashing too bad. Definitely sounded like they fit together. You know what you can do? Here's what you do. All right, it's 10:01, so I'm supposed to be going, but I'm just going to show you one more thing. So when the high bass is there, you have no saturation, so you turn it off like this. And then get a little pencil tool and draw in the saturator to turn on when the high bass disappears, so it won't clash. So it sounds like this. Now, saturator comes on. When the high bass disappears, the saturator comes on, and now you've still got something in your lower mids. And you can also, with this, where it says analog clip, what you can do is, see how now the automation is set to type. You can, you can do this and draw it in so that it changes to medium curve or like a different type. Or there's also sinoid fold, so it sounds like this. That's a kind of old school DJ hype style. Anyway, big up everyone who's locked in. Big up the crew who's been in the chat. Big up the crew who's not been in the chat. And big up everyone who's been watching back. I'm here every Sunday night from 8 o'clock Spanish time. That's 7 o'clock UK time. And if you're in America, it's probably the morning in Los Angeles. Maybe it's the afternoon in New York. I don't know. You'll have to work it out, but you can find me here on YouTube live every Sunday evening. I make a different type of tune every week. We've got grime this week. Who knows what it's going to be next week? You just have to wait and find out. So, big up you lot. And I really appreciate our new member, Future World Machines. Thank you for joining, man. So I'll see